Folks, it is Saturday, June 17th, 2017. Obviously not the best video here. I'm doing it from my computer. My phone's messed up. I don't like the computer videos. I'm sorry, but I don't really want to keep staying up waiting for my phone to figure it out. Of course, the big news, the Celtics, Danny Ainge specifically. Maybe time for Wick Grosbeck to step in and rein this motherfucker in, because clearly he's jumped the shark. Ainge, that is. He's gotten smart's disease. He's completely gone overboard. And look, you can't put any of this on Wick Grosbeck. We already know Ainge makes the decisions. You can go back to last year's draft where he came out and said, "Don't boo Wick. This was my decision. I made it." Danny Ainge is the one calling the shots, and frankly, he's out of his mind at this point, trading the number one overall pick. Now, there are people who are going to come out and defend it, whatever, let them do it. I can't even deal with them anymore. You can't, reason with the illogical. They say hell is a place with no reason, so I'm not going there. These are the same people who would piss and moan and complain and ridicule and bitch to high heaven when you would even mention trading this pick for a player, with DeMarcus Cousins, whoever, what have you. Paul George, who they may end up trying to trade what they're getting back for anyway, to try to get Paul George. Now, if they decide they're going to go after Anthony Davis after making this trade, that's one thing. I still don't see why you had to pass up on Markelle Fultz. And I certainly don't think you needed to trade this pick to acquire another draft pick. And the draft picks that they got, of course, as we know, the Celtics are swapping first-round picks, so they're getting the third in this year's draft. Now, they got next year's Brooklyn pick that Philadelphia owns, and the 2019 76ers pick, or the Sacramento Kings pick that the Philadelphia 76ers both own. Now, they're both protected. These are protected picks. I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping they're not completely lottery protected. Maybe outside of the top 7 you get them. Maybe they're protected in the other way for the Celtics going down. Maybe if they fall outside of the top 4, or whatever it is to begin with. But these have got to be unprotected picks. You can't put any qualifications on these. I don't know. I don't know where Danny Ainge is going. Look, I'm not even so sure if they wanted Anthony Davis that they had to give up this first pick at all. I'm saying they could have kept the first pick, not even traded it for the picks that they've accumulated, and they still probably could have made a run at Anthony Davis. I've stated it. You had the 2018 Nets pick. You had a Memphis Grizzlies first-round pick that, granted, was top 7 protected, but Memphis is a good enough team that I think they would keep it out of that. Depending, Memphis may tank, whatever. I'm not even going to go down that road, but, you have your own first-round picks. You have a guy like Zizic, who is a good center. You at least try to do that. I don't even think he put those options out on the table. Now, if you're going to trade for Paul George in this situation and you're the Boston Celtics, then I don't know what the hell is going on. No one wanted to make this trade at the trade deadline. I was certainly okay with it, but I understand why they didn't do it. And again, I only said trade this pick before it became the number one pick because of the uncertainty. I don't like to live in uncertainty. I like certain things to happen. I like to know what's going on, which clearly no one can have any idea what the fuck is going on with the Celtics at this point. But I looked at it that way. Once it became the number one overall pick, I made it clear you don't trade it. That case, I mean, unless it's Anthony Davis. But even that, I wasn't even too thrilled. I wasn't going to give up this first overall pick and next year's Brooklyn pick and Jaylen Brown for Anthony Davis. No, sorry, I was not going to make that trade, especially with a guy like Zizic, who I think can do what they have to do at center. Again, I like Anthony Davis. I'm not putting Anthony Davis down. I take Anthony Davis in a heartbeat as long as the price is right. But what they need out of a center, I don't think, they need. How do I phrase this? Look, they can get things out of a center like a Zizic that would be just fine for this team. Anthony Davis would bring other things to the equation, yes, of course, and he's obviously an upgrade over Zizic. He's a very good center, but you can get by if you're the Celtics by getting less out of the center position than what you need from Anthony Davis. Avery Bradley is now going to be a free agent at the end of this year. Do you try to trade him? Again, I don't know who you trade Bradley for. It seems like only a contender would really be interested in him because he's running out of his contract. But you're not going to draft a guard. So it seems like you're keeping Bradley at this point. You're going to keep Smart. I would assume they're going to, but who knows? Danny Ainge will probably trade Isaiah Thomas at this point. I have no idea. But the biggest thing that gets me with this trade is the consensus belief, at least what it was beforehand. Now Chris Forsberg, of course, will come out, and all these Danny Ainge sycophants will still try to defend the fact that they're just waiting out Cleveland, they're waiting out Golden State. If you want to do that, that's fine. I don't think they necessarily have to wait out. I think they can improve without mortgaging the future and still be close. I mean, they did win a game in the Eastern Conference Finals. It doesn't take that much improvement to get there. But regardless of that situation, here's the thing. If you're waiting these guys out, why are you going to go and strengthen a Philadelphia 76ers team through the draft? Look, Philadelphia, I'm not even sure they're even that bad of a team, to be honest with you. They've been terrible because they haven't been trying to win these last couple of years. Granted, Embiid's been hurt, so will he ever live up? We don't know. Certainly when he's on the court, he's very effective, but he's injury prone. So there's a bit of a risk there. We don't know what's going to happen, but if he can stay on the court, they're a very effective team. You're going to draft Markelle Fultz now. Markelle Fultz, I think, can step right in and play effectively. Saric, certainly in contention for Rookie of the Year. I'm not even going to talk about his rookie status, all those things. He's a quality player. Jahlil Okafor hasn't been great, but Jahlil Okafor has done exactly, what you would need a professional center to do. So he's certainly not a liability in that sense. His games does have a little liability, but certainly he's an above-average NBA center. Now Ben Simmons, who was the first overall pick last year, we're going to see what he can bring if he can stay healthy. So essentially, I mean, I guess they'll probably maybe try to move Okafor. I don't know what Philadelphia's going to do. They're ecstatic of that this trade as well. They should be. But what are they going to do at this point? I don't know. But essentially, their entire starting roster is going to be, high draft picks at this point. So you're strengthening a team that in the time that they're ready to, or the Celtics are ready to get to the Cavaliers time has passed, is exactly when Philadelphia should be very strong. So that doesn't make sense in this regard. I call on Wyc Grousbeck. You got to rein this guy in eventually. Danny Ainge, look, everyone wants to talk about the Brooklyn trade, how he got all these picks, and of course he trades this one. Look, yes, did the Celtics make out in that trade? Of course. The thing is, though, that speaks more to Mikhail Prokhorov pushing Billy King to make a stupid trade, which they did. That's much more on the Nets' incompetence than it is on Danny Ainge being great. Of course, he made the trade. Jeff Green for Kendrick Perkins, still trying to figure that one out. I mean, even to a lesser extent, if you go back, it was the 2009 season, 2010, trading a guy like an Eddie House, who was part of the championship team, a bench scorer, a guy who could provide offense, things like that. It just, didn't really make any sense. He just makes these moves for the sake of making moves. There was the Ricky Davis acquiring him, going all the way back to Antoine Walker and those things. Look, were those bad moves? I'm not even necessarily going to say that, but he does these things. It's like he makes moves just for making moves, and at this point, I don't know, but to trade the number 1 overall pick, this isn't even close to the same thing as people talking about, well, they traded Kevin McHale, or the number 1 overall pick for the 3 where they got McHale and Robert Parrish. Yeah, that's the operative thing. They got Robert Parrish in the trade. Robert Parrish was a Hall of Fame player. You didn't even try to get Okafor. I mean, you didn't even try to get Saric. I mean, they weren't going to give up a Saric. I'm surprised they didn't want to give up an Okafor or try to get an Embiid, throw a future first round pick, one of the later ones you have, to try to get an Embiid in as well. I don't understand. And the picks are protected. They're protected picks. You couldn't even get unprotected picks. So if you're trying to trade for an Anthony Davis, why the hell are they going to want unprotected picks? So we'll see what happens. Maybe Danny Ainge knows what he's doing, but this could definitely be a jump the shark moment, and he may be looking back in years regretting this one big time. Look, the Celtics moving forward, are they going to draft Josh Jackson? Look, a lot of people like him, but you drafted Jaylen Brown last year. You still have yet to do anything with Jay Crowder, and you're talking about signing Gordon Hayward. So let's bring another forward in. Why? Because the Golden State Warriors had 2 forwards on their team. Kevin Durant, a small, Draymond Green, a power. Like, I don't get that either, unless you're going to move Josh Jackson, the power forward. We'll have to see, but I don't know. I think the Celtics are going to regret this one, and I don't see why else. you make this trade. Other than Danny Ainge is just completely out of his mind. Wick Rosbeck, you got to do something at this point. So we'll see what happens moving forward. All right, we'll give you draft coverage when the draft comes around in a few days. Be sure to stay tuned for that. And remember, we appreciate all subscriptions as well. And again, I'm sorry. I know the video was a little grainy. My phone wasn't really up to it. That has the high definition. This is this. I just wanted to get it done though. So that's it. The Celtics trade the #1 overall pick to the Philadelphia 76ers. In return, the Celtics are getting no players. I repeat, no players. They're getting the 3rd pick in this year's draft. Likely going to be Josh Jackson. Then a 2018 protected pick from the Lakers and a 2019 protected pick from the Kings. Thank you all so much. We'll see you next time.